In non-degenerate perturbation theory, we begin with an unperturbed Hamiltonian H0, and by using a bookkeeping parameter lambda, which can be between 0 and 1, we add the effect of the perturbation H1. Our goal is to determine how the energies and eigenstates change due to the perturbation. To do this, we expand both as power series in lambda. And by considering different orders of lambda, we can find different corrections or shifts in both energies and eigenstates. However, for the degenerate case, things get more complicated and we can't use the same expressions to find the corrections. In the case of degenerate perturbation, we have some states with the same energy. For example, in this case, you can see a g-fold degeneracy, meaning that we have g different states for the same energy En. In this case, we cannot easily find the corrections in the states using these expressions which diverge as the denominator goes to 0. When the perturbation is absent, all the states in the degenerate subspace have the same energy. But once a perturbation is applied, it generally couples or mixes these degenerate states, so the original basis states are no longer eigenstates of the perturbed Hamiltonian. Instead, different linear combinations of the degenerate states acquire different first-order energy shifts. This state mixing raises some important questions. How do we identify the states that the perturbation prefers within the degenerate subspace, and what are the corresponding first-order energy shifts? Which linear combinations of the degenerate states remain eigenstates after the perturbation is applied? Which linear combinations of the degenerate states acquire definite first-order energy corrections? Let's start with the easiest kind of degeneracy and see what we can do to find the first-order corrections in action. Suppose the unperturbed Hamiltonian has two orthonormal eigenstates with the same energy E0. At this unperturbed stage, the theory doesn't distinguish between the two states. In this case, every linear combination of the two states is also an eigenstate of the Hamiltonian, and there is no unique zeroth order eigenstate as we saw in the non-degenerate case. Everything works well until we add the perturbation. The diagonal elements represent how each state interacts with the perturbation individually. On the other hand, the off-diagonal ones tell us that the perturbation couples the two states. If these entries were 0, there wouldn't be no mixing. This is how the coupling or mixing happens due to the off-diagonal elements in the perturbation. But what we are looking for is a kind of linear combination that is a simultaneous eigenstates of both the Hamiltonian and the perturbation in the degenerate eigenspace. So if we write the eigenstates we are looking for and also the energies up to the first order and put them in the time-independent Schrödinger equation, we are left with this expression for the first order of lambda. Let's take what we need to the next slide and continue. We can use this last expression and find the inner product with each of the eigenstates we introduced earlier. Also, this linear combination is the eigenstate of the unperturbed Hamiltonian. It can be any linear combination of the two states which have the same energy when there is no perturbation. These two terms cancel out because the Hamiltonian is Hermitian and when acts on the two eigenstates gives the zeroth order energy. Let me remind you that we have these elements based on the perturbation we introduced earlier, and what we are looking for is the first order shift in energy which is denoted by E1. We already know the elements in these two equations. They are simply the elements of the perturbation matrix in this eigenbasis. So let's use the elements in the matrix and write these two equations. Find B from the second equation and eliminate it from the first equation by writing B in terms of E1 and A. Assuming A to be non-zero, we can divide this equation by A. This is what we find for E1. And we have two energy shifts for the first order we were looking for. Now that we have the energy shifts, we can write these expressions, find A and B, and write the desired states. For this one, A must be equal to B, and for this one, A must be minus B. We can choose these normalized kets for the two energy corrections and call them plus and minus kets. Now, for these specific kets, there is no coupling or mixing for the perturbation. Now you can see that when we applied H1 on plus and minus kets, it gives us the desired shifts in energy that we were looking for. In other words, we are effectively rotating the basis vectors within the degenerate subspace of Hilbert space until they align with the eigenvectors of the perturbation. In this new basis, the perturbation matrix is diagonal. The off-diagonal couplings vanish, and each state has a well-defined first-order energy correction. This is basically diagonalizing the perturbation matrix and finding the eigenvalues and eigenstates of the perturbation in the degenerate subspace. When two eigenstates of the unperturbed Hamiltonian have the same energy, we say the system has a twofold degeneracy. In the eigenbasis of the Hamiltonian, this appears as two identical diagonal entries. Since both states correspond to the same eigenvalue, any normalized linear combination of them is also an eigenstate with that same energy. To the first order, the effect of the perturbation is determined by diagonalizing the perturbation matrix within the degenerate subspace. The resulting eigenvalues give the first-order energy shifts, and the corresponding eigenvectors define the linear combinations of the degenerate states that become the new zeroth-order eigenstates. We can now use these eigenvectors as the appropriate zeroth-order eigenstates and proceed exactly as in nondegenerate perturbation theory to compute the first-order corrections to the eigenstates. As another example, take this Hamiltonian for which epsilon is a very small number. We can write this Hamiltonian in the form of an unperturbed Hamiltonian and a perturbation term which can be turned on or off using lambda. For the unperturbed Hamiltonian H0, we have these three eigenstates, and these are the corresponding eigenvalues. It's clear that these two states are degenerate. However, we don't need to use the degenerate perturbation theory to find the eigenvalues and eigenstates of this perturbed Hamiltonian because we can diagonalize it and find the exact answer up to some order of accuracy. We use the characteristic equation to write this determinant and find the three eigenvalues. This is the determinant we are looking for. The first term gives one of the eigenvalues, which is exactly V0 times 1 minus epsilon. The second parenthesis gives us the next two values. It is basically a quadratic equation, and by using the quadratic formula, we can find the next two values. Up to the second order of epsilon, we can expand the square root, which gives these two eigenvalues, which can be written like this. Now, let's keep these eigenvalues in sight. We want to find the first-order correction to the eigenvalues for the state which is outside the degenerate subspace. As you can see, the first-order correction is 0. So, let's find the second-order correction using this formula. Pay attention that we can use it for the states which are not in the degenerate subspace with the same eigenstates as the basis for the unperturbed Hamiltonian. The two numerators for the two terms of the series above can be calculated like this. For the first state, it yields 0, and the first term vanishes, but the second term is non-zero and equal to epsilon times V0. Now, put it into this fraction with the denominator to be 2 times V0 minus V0, and the result is epsilon squared times V0. Take a look at this eigenvalue we found after diagonalizing the perturbed Hamiltonian. It is the sum of the eigenvalue for the unperturbed Hamiltonian plus the second-order correction we found from non-degenerate perturbation theory. But what about the other two values? Let's see if we can find them using the degenerate perturbation theory. This is the degenerate subspace we need to diagonalize. Fortunately, it is already diagonal, and we can write the eigenvalues, which are the first-order corrections to the two other energies. This term is the first-order correction to the first eigenvalue as we found earlier, but for the second energy eigenvalue, the first-order correction is 0. Now we can use the non-degenerate perturbation formula to calculate the second-order energy correction. Notice that we sum only over states outside the original degenerate subspace because the mixing within the degenerate subspace has already been accounted for by diagonalizing the perturbation. In this particular example, the perturbation matrix within the degenerate subspace is already diagonal, so the original degenerate eigenstates are already the appropriate zeroth order states. If the perturbation matrix were not diagonal, we would first diagonalize it and use its eigenvectors as the new 0th order states before proceeding with the higher order corrections. So we just need to take into consideration the third ket and not worry about the kets in the degenerate subspace. We get this as the second order correction, which is consistent with the result we found earlier.